What I want you to realize is that we all have a tendency to think and behave in automatic ways based upon our beliefs. Where do our beliefs or thoughts come from? Why is it that we believe the things we believe? Our thoughts and beliefs come mainly from three sources: scripts we receive from the environment, how we interpret the significant events that happen in our life, and essential experiences we either have or don't have. Let's discuss them one at a time. The first is scripts. Scripts are verbal messages we get from the environment. As children, we were mainly influenced by the messages we got from our parents. But messages from family, friends, teachers, and the media were also important. I remember being told that money doesn't grow on trees. And clean your plate, there are people starving all over the world. What we're interested in are those scripts that you internalized and then started saying to yourself. Some of them might have been helpful, like no matter what happens you can learn from it, or hurtful, like I don't think you're smart enough to do that. What I want you to realize is that whatever messages or scripts you internalized from the environment and then tell yourself over and over influence how you respond in stressful situations and ultimately your level of functioning. Scripts influence whether or not you give up in a stressful situation, whether you learn to just put up with a stressful situation, bounce up and recover from a stressful situation, or step up to the plate and learn how to grow and thrive in a stressful situation. In addition to the scripts we receive from family and the surrounding environment, significant events also influence our beliefs. A significant event is any highly meaningful or emotional experience that happens in your life. For example, suppose you believe that you're smart and that you can be successful in future situations. Further, you remember an important school function where a teacher praised you for your performance. This event was very meaningful for you and helped shape the belief that you're smart and can be successful in future situations. On the other hand, suppose you have a belief that long-term relationships will never work out. Perhaps your parents divorced when you were a child, so for you, that meant that long-term relationships are not possible. Such beliefs developed as a child often have a negative impact on your relationships as an adult. I remember hearing a powerful story that illustrates the impact that significant experiences can have on our beliefs. There were these anthropologists studying sets of twins and trying to determine what happened when they were young that influenced their life as an adult. One twin they were studying had not been very successful in life. He had never been able to hold down a job. He was an alcoholic and had basically dropped out of society. The other twin was a very successful businessman. So the anthropologists get on a plane and fly to see the twin that was by their definition not successful and ask, what happened? The twin said, I can tell you exactly what happened to me and why my life turned out the way it did. When I was a young kid, my mother used to lock me in a closet, and it was very traumatic for me. I never got over it. I haven't been able to get my life together since. Then the anthropologists visited the other twin, a highly successful businessman. They asked, can you tell us why you turned out the way you did? And the successful businessman said, I can tell you. It all started when I was a young kid. My mother used to lock me in a closet, and I would sit and read and read and read. I learned a lot during that time. So isn't that interesting? The same significant event resulted in a very different set of beliefs for each twin. That's a powerful story of how our beliefs are shaped by the significant events of our life. One thing you might do is reflect on the significant events in your life and ask yourself what you made them mean. What thoughts or beliefs resulted from these events? And are those beliefs helping you bounce up and step up, or contributing to you giving up or putting up? The third source that influences our thoughts and beliefs are essential experiences. These are feelings, simple basic human needs that we all have. There are 6 essential experiences I want to share with you. These include feelings of being okay, feeling loved and valued, being seen and acknowledged, feeling safe in the world, feeling like we have an impact on others, and feeling a sense of belonging. Most of us got these essential experiences as children, and having them helps us feel secure as adults. When we feel secure, firmly grounded, so to speak, we're more likely to develop positive thoughts and beliefs. Let me give you an example of how I tried to give these experiences to my younger daughter, so that hopefully she would feel secure and develop positive thoughts and beliefs. Every summer we attend a family reunion at the beach in North Carolina. One summer, my younger daughter and I were standing in front of the ocean, and I was holding her hand. She was clutching my hand, and I could tell she was scared to death. So I look out at the ocean and say, "That's a big ocean, huh?" I was trying to help her feel seen and acknowledged. I'm trying to communicate, to acknowledge in a nice way that I can see she's scared. So I just allow her to cling onto my hand, and I say to her, "That's a big ocean, huh, Linda?" That also communicated to her that it's okay with me that she's scared. I still love her. Then she said, "I'm not going in that water." So I said, "Okay, you don't have to go in the water. In other words, you're okay. You still belong here. You're safe." Then she says, "I'm not putting my bathing suit on either." So I say, "That's fine. You don't have to put your bathing suit on." Again, I'm saying, you're safe here. You're okay. You're loved as you are. And then she says to me, "You're not putting your bathing suit on either, are you, Mom?" So now what's she trying to do? She's trying to have an impact on me. So I chose to say, "Fine, Linda. I won't put my bathing suit on either." My thinking was if I just go with it, in a couple of days we'll be standing there in the water and she'll say, "Oops, I got my clothes wet." And I'll say, "Oops, me too." Eventually we can put our bathing suits on and go in the water. Now some people tell me, "Oh no, Mary, you'll be standing on that dry shore for the whole week." And if we did, that would be fine with me too, because helping to give her these essential experiences is very important to me. But let's also acknowledge that sometimes we need to push people a little to try new things. It's a judgment call. The main point is that our beliefs are shaped in part by whether or not we have these essential experiences. Let me give a brief example of what happens when a child doesn't have the essential experiences. Suppose a little boy is feeling sad. What might a little boy hear from Dad about that? "Boys don't cry. Suck it up. Be a man." So what belief might a little boy develop as a result of that experience? Instead of feeling that I belong here, people see me sad, the little boy thinks, "People see I'm sad, but they're acting like it's not okay for me to be sad." So the little boy decides not to cry. He makes a decision not to cry because if he doesn't cry, then he doesn't feel out of place. He feels safe, like he belongs, and then he feels like he can have an impact on Dad. So what do we have? We have a little boy that's less flexible, less resilient, a more rigid child. And the belief that it's not okay to cry resulted from missing an essential experience. As adults, how do we get these essential experiences? It's our responsibility to give them to ourselves. For example, when I go to work at the university, it's my job to help myself feel okay, to feel loved, to see and acknowledge what I need, to help myself feel safe, to have an impact on myself and others, and to feel like I belong. It's not my boss's job, or my colleague's job, or my student's job to provide these essential experiences for me. It's my responsibility to provide them for myself, just like it is your responsibility to provide them for yourself. Yet when I go to the university, if I'm in an environment where each of us also concentrates on providing these essential experiences for each other, it's a much more pleasant place to work, and we're all more engaged and productive. So to summarize this section, we all have a tendency to think and behave in automatic ways based upon our beliefs. And our beliefs come mainly from three sources: scripts we receive and internalize from the environment, how we interpret the significant events that happen in our lives, and essential experiences that we either have or don't have. Over time, many of our thoughts and beliefs have become automatic. Indeed, 95% of the thoughts we have today are the same ones we had yesterday. My hope is that you begin to increase your awareness of where your current beliefs come from, and then use the ABCDE thinking model to help you replace your disempowering thoughts and beliefs with empowering ones. Now, before we stop this session, I have one more story to tell you. Whenever you have trouble changing one of your beliefs or thoughts, I want you to think back to this little story. One day I was with a friend of mine talking about this very topic, and he asked, "What color is a yield sign?" I said, "A yield sign is yellow." He smiled and said, "No, Mary, a yield sign is red." I looked puzzled and said, "Are you sure? It's yellow, isn't it? Stop signs are red, yield signs are yellow." He said, "No, yield signs were yellow, but in 1987 the federal government changed them to red and white." Here's how that little story can help you change your beliefs. Let's say I have all my beliefs stored in a file cabinet in my office. If I pull the drawer open, the file folder about yield signs says, "Yield signs are yellow." But now that I've had my little discussion with my friend, and of course I had to go see a yield sign for myself, which, by the way, I couldn't believe was red and white, I look at my file folder which says, "Yield signs are yellow," and then I give myself the new information. I say, "No, Mary, yield signs were yellow, but in 1987 they changed to red and white. Yield signs are now red and white." Then I close the file folder, put it back in the drawer, and close the file cabinet. Now, if you're like me and you said yellow, you might also be like me and need to go see an actual yield sign for yourself. But once you do, every time you have the thought that yield signs are yellow, you can say, "No, that's not true. That's a belief from my past. I now know the truth is they are red and white." After correcting yourself a few times, you will have created a new file folder. When someone asks you what color yield signs are, your new belief, your red and white belief, will automatically pop up. Your goal is to have accurate beliefs in all your file folders. Of course, each belief won't be quite as easy to change as the one about the yield sign. For example, the most common belief I hear from therapy clients I work with is, "I'm not good enough." Most of us have some form of that belief. I'm not smart enough, people are ahead of me or better than me, I can't get it right. Let's suppose I'm working with an individual who has this belief, and I say to them, "That belief is not correct. Pull out your file folder. I want you to scratch it out and in its place write, 'I am talented. I have plenty of skills. I can work to achieve the goals I desire. I can handle a reasonable workload.'" So the individual writes it down in the file folder, puts it back in the drawer, and closes the file cabinet. Now, is that belief totally resolved, like the yield sign? Do you think it will ever come up again? Of course it will come up again. So some beliefs are harder to change than other beliefs because of our scripting, the significant events in our lives and how we interpret these events, and the essential experiences that we have or don't have. We will need to work harder on some beliefs than others. It will take a lot of practice. Each time you reinforce the belief in the new file folder, after a period of time, the old belief will greatly diminish, perhaps even disappear. What will help is understanding where your beliefs come from. Then, just as we did with the yellow yield sign, you give yourself new information. You say to yourself, "This is the old information. These were the circumstances back then, and back then this may have been true, but it's not true today. So today I'll choose a different belief, a belief that helps me feel better about myself, because when I feel better, I'm more likely to go above the line and take responsibility." Next time, we will work on the final component of the resiliency curriculum, creating meaningful connections. For now, please print out your assignment and reading material